Hi, everyone. Welcome to Crushing Doubts live Q&A. Same time as usual, though I wasn't here last week. It's 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. I will be here every Monday, unless I let you know otherwise, which will be very rare. So I am back from vacation, and for some reason on Instagram, I look like I'm a surfer because the light exposure has made me look slightly blonde. I'll take it. In any case, it's good to be here with you all. Whoever here is who is here with me, just let me know. You can say hi, ask questions, whatever you'd like to do. But it looks like we're going to get some preloaded questions in, which is a rare treat. So why don't we do it? Courtney, bring up the first one. This is from Diane. And Diane, by the way, you guys have probably seen, is doing what we're releasing the live sessions that she and I are doing together. We are on the second one already, and the third one comes out this week. So Diane says, there's a number one before that because she actually has a second question that will come up later if we have time. I see many people talk about getting rid of their pain only to find they are suddenly dealing with high levels of anxiety. I did not think that I had problems with anxiety, but I am now wondering if some of my symptoms, lightheadedness, along with headaches, might not be from anxiety. How common would you say it is for those of us with mind-body pain to be dealing with anxiety? Okay, let's leave this question up there because there's a lot in it, but a lot of good stuff in here. The first thing that I would say, and maybe the most important thing, is that I have come to see anxiety as an equivalent symptom, essentially, to mind-body issues. So if you're having shoulder pain or anxiety, to me, they're really the same thing. So how common is it? I would say it's completely common. I think we all have anxiety. We all have depression. We all have physical pains. And if you think about it, depression and anxiety are physical things. So that's one way to think about it that could help you to see that it would be perfectly natural for you to have symptoms like that. The other thing I'll say in answer to Diane's question, which I think does highlight some good things, and then I'll say hi to some people on Instagram that I see have joined me, is that it's also very common to resolve certain symptoms and then have new symptoms come up. This is something that Dr. Sarno called the symptom imperative. And if you think about it, it makes sense from a doubt perspective because the doubt always wants to creep back in some way. And the way to do that is to say, well, here's a new symptom. This can't be, this can't also be mind body, can it? But actually, if you think about it, it's kind of like a poker tell. It's coming up with another symptom to try to convince you. And the more it comes up with, the more it tries, the less convincing it should actually become because we're seeing all of these symptoms. Let me say hi to a couple of people on Instagram who I see have joined me. Chuck Brown Productions says, Terry, good to see you. Good Enough Housewife, good to see you. And Quilt Hollow, make sure I'm reading that correctly. Yes, okay. All right, we've got first question coming in from YouTube. And we are taking questions, by the way, from Facebook, from Instagram, and YouTube. So we are now functional on Facebook. There have been some concerns about that because we've been missing some things. So let's bring up this question from Charlotte Trendell. Good to see you, Charlotte. In fact, she says, hi, Dan, nice to see you. So good to see you. She says, I'm staying up to ask a question. So Charlotte is in England, so I appreciate you staying up, and we'll get to your question right now. How do you manage your frustration/fear when you are able to get your pain down, but then you get a big flare after? It's like giving you a taster of freedom, then crushing you for a week after when the pain is sky high. I feel like I'm constantly watching my pain. If I lower it in one place, it then pops up in another area. It's utterly exhausting. It creates doubt that I'll ever be free, despite knowing it can work. Okay, so first of all, Charlotte, my heart goes out to you. I know how hard these symptoms can be, and you're hitting on a kind of experience that I can really understand would be frustrating, which is you make some progress, and then it's like the mind-body symptoms knock you backwards. To me, a helpful way of thinking about this might be that you're actually getting close to killing off doubt. When it is, and of course we never really kill it off because it's always trying to crawl back in, but I mean you doing major damage to it where you can really make major gains. Doubt tends to try out stronger symptoms the closer you're getting to mastering it. It's like it panics and it's saying, okay, fine. Then I'm going to make a very strong symptom that's going to distract you and get you into doubt again. And it's a smart move by it because it'll get you doubting. But here's the way I want you to think about it. Because we have the columns, to me, that's the most helpful way you can think about it. No matter what's going on, fall back on the columns. They all have their function. And any one of those three columns could be the reason that you get more pain after seeming to master some doubt. So let me run that through for you. In the emotions column, it's about the onset and uptake in symptoms. And it could be that you actually have feelings about mastering that doubt. As an example, this is just an example. I'm pulling it out of thin air. I'm not saying it applies to you. But it could be that you master that doubt and then you look around and there's no one there to enjoy that success with or to cheer you on. And you suddenly feel pain about that or lonely or something like that. Boom, a symptom can come rushing in. So it could come in for the emotions column. Of course, it can also come in straight from the doubt column. It could be that by mastering some doubt wants to creep back in, make you doubt things. And it's going to say, I'm going to give you a very convincing symptom or a stronger symptom, whatever it takes to knock you off balance. If you can stay very determined and not get scared about it and recognize that it is just trying to fool you another time, if you can get to that point, you'll knock it back on its heels and you'll be able to reduce that symptom and then go on your way. But it can come from the doubt column. And that's something if it's persistent or returning. So it can also come from the power column, as I mentioned. It can come from any of the columns. The power column is when you feel a kind of plateau. Actually, Charlotte, what I'm hearing is a form of a plateau. If I had to guess any one of the columns that is really causing you the issue here, it's power. And the reason I say that is because you're having a persistent, reoccurring experience when you're trying to get the symptoms down and when you're having some success getting them down, and then boom, something knocks it back up, or you get stuck at a certain point. So I think we just need to do some power column work here. We need to understand what's the nature of how you're not feeling powerful, maybe in relation to your symptoms, because that's what you're describing. You know, you're saying it's utterly exhausting, which I totally get. And it creates doubt that you'll ever be free. That's just the symptoms are still ruling you in the power column department. As soon as you master that, they're in deep trouble. I think they're in deep trouble anyway, but that's another place to start. So I know you stayed up late. So if you have a follow-up question, Charlotte, just let me know and I will get to it. Jasper, I see you on Instagram. Welcome. Contev J. I always forget. I think it's actually Conte is the last name, but I always forget. I'm sorry. But good to see you on Instagram. Okay, we've got a question or a comment from Linda Alarde. She says, hi, I am in a deep, dark doubt spiral. I so get it, Charlotte. Been there. I'm sorry to hear that, Linda. She says, I get more pain after I start to celebrate making progress. Okay. Linda, I'm going to make a suggestion here that hopefully will be helpful to you. It might sound kind of counterintuitive, but I would say go ahead and make your progress and don't celebrate. And the reason I'm saying that is not because it's not worthy of celebration, because of course it is. Very worthy of celebration. But I think celebration can, if you think about it in terms of like self-consciousness, celebration is a thing that gets you out of the moment for some people. So I play basketball. And if I hit a bunch of shots at once and I start to think about the fact that I'm making those shots and I start to feel good about that, my brother and I have a joke about that. We call it a pride miss. That's where you're feeling good and then clank, you've gotten your mindset in the wrong place. So this is an attentional TMS kind of aspect, Linda. What I want you to do is make some progress and then forget about it. Just move on with your day. Keep working on the columns. Don't stop and celebrate, because I think that's actually the thing that's knocking you backwards a little bit. But I also hear you're in a deep, dark doubt spiral, and I'm sorry to hear it, and I want to hear more so I can be of help. So you just let me know. Okay, we've got okay, Charlotte's got a follow-up, and then I'm going to get to Mira's question. Charlotte says, yes, I think you were right. Power is definitely something I struggle with. Thank you. Thank you, Linda. Hugs back to you. Okay, so Charlotte, I think it can be helpful just the fact that we've identified where to do the work. It's something that I talk about in the columns work is identify which column are you working in and why. And then that can first of all, it narrows things down, but it also gets you more specific in the area you need to be. We're really onto it, and we'll work at that. So just let me know, and certainly feel free to ask more questions or follow up on here while you're still up there. Okay, Mira Lee has a comment. I challenged my physical triggers and it created more severe pain. It amped up my nervous system, can't settle it down for days. I kept telling my brain I was in no danger. Where do I start from here? Okay, great question, Mira. And I'm sorry to hear that you grappled with that increased severity and pain. When that happens, when you challenge a trigger and it leads to more severe pain, what it is telling you is one of two things. One, the doubt is fighting back hard because it knows that you're onto it. It's pushing in the right direction. And you could think of that as a positive in a sense. However, very hard to see it as positive when you're in severe pain and when you're afraid from it. And that's where the second thing comes in. And I think this is much more operative. And that is that challenging physical triggers, I often encourage people, is one of the last steps that you want to take. The way I would read this is you aren't quite ready to challenge those triggers. You haven't conquered your doubt quite enough to feel confident enough to go after those triggers. So what I would recommend is back off from challenging the physical triggers in some kind of direct way, where you're like let's say getting up from a chair quickly is something that you haven't been able to do very easily. I wouldn't go ahead and do that. What I would do instead is spend time sitting in the chair and just thinking, I understand what this is about. I'm going to think emotionally. I'm not going to think about the pain so much. I'm going to think just my body's a flowing emotion and just be in that. You don't need to get up from the chair quickly. You don't need to do a back handspring. You don't need to do whatever scares you the most. What you want to do is you challenge the physical triggers when you feel that you've got the doubt in a pretty good place. That's when you go ahead and do it. So Mira, let me know if that makes sense to you. But I think what I'm hearing in it is you were telling your brain you were in no danger, but your brain was like, yeah, easy for you to say, right? And understandably, that would be incredibly hard for you. You're the one feeling the pain. First of all, I do want to say, well, not first of all, because I've already said a bunch of stuff, but next, what I want to say is this is very common. I hear this all the time. People are like, okay, I'm making progress. I'm feeling better. But when I try out the trigger, boom, I really get nailed with it. So this is very common. And what it means is you're not yet ready to challenge those triggers. I want you to do some mental doubt work before you go ahead and work on the physical triggers. Let me know if that makes sense, Mira. Okay, I'm going to get to Linda has a, let's see, Linda says, I get more pain after I start to celebrate making progress. Yeah, okay, we already said that. Okay. Okay, Linda, I'm going to get to your question, but I'm going to take a question from Instagram first, and then I'll get to you. I see Debbie Rosso is there. Good to see you. And Jasper has a question from Instagram. I have had some improvement with my symptoms, and I'm doubting less my body and doubt column. Where should I look to next? Okay, Jasper, I got confused by what you wrote just because you said I'm doubting less my body and the doubt column in general. Okay, I think I followed you. Well, the first thing is continue to hammer away at the doubt column. If you've made some good progress, that's fantastic. And it's a sign that you should be able to make more progress, because if you make progress in a mind-body sort of way, it's a sign that there really is a mind-body thing going on. And what I want you to do is just keep working at it. This actually relates to what I said to Mira. I would not rush to triggers. Don't rush to the end point. Like, mastering triggers is the thing to do last. When I got back on a basketball court after 8 years off, that was the last thing I did. I first got into a place where I was really, really solid with doubt. So that's one thing that I would look at, Jasper. But the other thing is you can always just look at the columns in general, again, each function that they have. So if you're having an onset or an uptick in a symptom, you look in the emotions column. And I know I'm saying a lot of the same stuff that I say, but this is part of why I'm useful, is to say these things again and again so that you get the system in your mind. You feel like you know how to do it. If you're having something that feels more chronic, then, and I call it consistently acute, then you want to look at doubts. What doubts are there? Keep looking at doubts and never stop looking at those. And when it comes to the power column, If you feel like you've gotten better to a certain point, but then it's hard to get past a plateau, that's more of a power column dynamic. I would say, though, Jasper, you want to keep focusing on doubt. I actually have a question for you, though, and so I want you to follow up on this. When you say, where should I look next? That to me actually strikes me as a power column question, a power column related question, because what I hear is, okay, you've done a good job mastering the doubt, but now you don't feel that you can inhabit this and know where to go next. And if you are feeling fully powerful, this is not said critically, by the way, of course, but if you were feeling fully powerful, you'd feel like, no, I know where to go. You'd be kind of in your power column. You'd be thinking about the core narrative. So in a way, your question is pointing us in the direction of do some work in the power column. And, you and I know that's where a lot of that work has been important for you. So we'll keep working at it, but let's do a little bit of a follow-up question or statement, if you can, talking about where you are in the power column. Debbie Rosso, I see that you have a question on Instagram. I'm going to get to you next, but I'm going to go to YouTube first because I said I would get to Linda Larde first. Okay, Linda says, this is about the deep, dark doubt spiral she was having, I assume. She says, my symptoms increased with a symptom I've had for 8 weeks. It seemed to be started by my returning to teach on site. That's something I'm hearing a lot from teachers, is returning to the actual physical site is leading to lots of symptoms. And I was a teacher actually at one point, so I can understand teaching could lead to lots of symptoms just in general. It seemed to be started by my return to teach on the site. I was anxious about Delta and the physical challenges of the huge campus. The doubt is that I have increasing leg, hip flexor, and hip clicking and popping. That triggered fear, and it got worse. The last hallway took me forever with my hip clunking and clicking away. Okay, this as always, my first response is, this sucks. It's so horrible when you have pain. And we have a lot of conversations in this community where people can say, well, this pain's worse than this pain, and this pain's worse than this pain. And that may even be, but it doesn't matter. Chronic pain and pain of mind-body experience especially is so bad that I just want to empathize with it first. Another thing I want to say, Linda, is that sounds are a very, very big source of doubt. I hear this a lot. People say, well, yeah, I can understand a mind-body process, but it makes a sound. And what I want to tell you is the mind-body process can do anything. It can make sounds. It can make changes in coloration of skin. It can change blood flow. It can make inflammation happen. Remember, the mind-body process, if the body can already do it, the function is there, then the mind can co-opt it. And in my way of thinking about it, it's with peptides is how they do it. So just remember, Linda, that clicking and popping, it makes sense that it triggered fear. It's a very normal thing to have happen. But it is actually just more confirmation of TMS. And let me give you a physicalized example or explanation of it that could help. So in between your joints, everywhere in your body, is a fluid called synovial fluid, which incidentally I learned about when I was in elementary school because it was on a Cheers episode when Woody cracked his knuckles and said it was from synovial fluid. But that is a complete aside. Synovial fluid is important because if all the mind has to do to create sound is to create bubbles between the joints. And what does it have to do that? It just has to put some excess air into the oxygen into that area. Well, Sarno talked about oxygen deprivation. This is extra oxygen flow. And that leads to the kind of popping, crackling, clicking noises. And those are very convincing, but they're just like anything else. They can be made to come and go. Okay, we're going to get to some questions on Instagram. Then I see we have a follow-up from Mira and Edgar. Good to see you. He says, thank you, Dr. Dan. You're the best. Appreciate you, Edgar. Takes one to know one. All right. Looking back at Debbie's question on Instagram, and then Terry, I see yours as well, so I'll follow up on that. Debbie says, I had back surgery in 2001 and have had sciatica since then. Now diagnosis is failed back syndrome and nerve damage. I totally feel this is TMS. What's your thought on these diagnoses? Okay, Debbie. So number one thing is I'm right there. I feel like I'm right there with you, standing next to you, because this reminds me of what it was like when I was suffering and I was getting these diagnoses from the doctors. Doctors, as I've said many times, is very important that we trust them for life and death stuff. But the things that they're telling you are not life and death. None of them. And in fact, they're all of these structural diagnoses. So I want you to follow up on this as needed, but I will tell you, failed back syndrome is not a real thing. Nerve damage is often overly diagnosed. And if you do have true nerve damage, it does not tend to lead to the kind of symptoms that lead to pain, actually. What happens with nerve damage, I'm skeptical of even the term nerve damage, because how can we trust these doctors after the things that they've been saying? So I guarantee you it's TMS. I am not worried about guaranteeing that at all, because you've been to doctors and they have not brought up life or death stuff. They've seen you. They've given you these basket diagnoses of failed back syndrome. I'd want to hear more about nerve damage to help you specifically target that doubt. But these diagnoses strike me as right in line with TMS. And I can I'm going to take pretty much out of there. I guarantee you have TMS. Let's talk further if you need my help with that. Okay. All right. I'm going to take a comment from Mira on YouTube, and then Terry, I'll get to yours. And then I see Jasper, you have a follow-up. Okay. Mira says, yes, that makes sense. Thank you. Now, what was I talking about? Physical triggers, and kind of letting physical triggers not be the thing that you would go to first. She says, yes, that makes sense. Thank you. You have mentioned before that spasms are fear. They are, absolutely. Thoughts on burning pain or popping, cracking that brings a lot of doubt. Okay. So there's a couple questions in there. Let's leave this up there so I can get to them all. I don't think that symptoms are uniformly in line with a particular type of emotion all the time. With spasms, they are, though. That is just guaranteed. It is related to fear every single time. Burning pain, I think, is probably variable. And I would need to hear more about the specific experience you're having, Mira. But the reason I say it's variable, where I think spasms are not, is that spasms are an experience that causes fear in everyone. They're so universally fear-causing that shows what their design is. In psychology, we sometimes say, if you're trying to figure out what someone feels, pay attention to what they make you feel, especially when you're working with kids. Kids often will make you feel the thing that they're feeling, and that's how you can understand it. Well, sometimes that's happening with symptoms. With burning pain, though, and with symptoms in general, it can come from any one of the three columns. It really depends on how it is operating for you. It could be that in the emotions column, it really is working on like a metaphor, like you got burned. It could relate to that. It could be that that's the thing that causes your fear to become bigger, and that would be a doubt column thing. Or it could be that it relates in some way to power. You want to look under the hood of all three columns. Now, you also ask, popping, cracking, that brings a lot of doubt, we made kind of reference to this before with Linda. It does. It's one of the number one things that I hear causes doubt. I hear things like, well, but, there's a sound. Or sometimes they're like, well, but you can see the inflammation. Or it's hot to the touch. Just keep this in mind. The more convincing it is, the more effective that mind-body experience is. So I would say that popping and cracking usually relates to the doubt column. It is usually just about, okay, you're maybe on to me in some way, or I need to solidify I'm speaking like I'm doubt. I need to solidify my place in your life. I'm going to make it more convincing. Okay, I see some other questions that relate to that, so we will get to it, but I'm going to get to Terry's question on Instagram, and Mira, let me know if that makes sense. Terry said, so I was away for a few days. You know my story. Yes, I do. Didn't really have any symptoms while we were away. Had 2 days back at work without family here, and it was fine. Today, family's back, and sitting here, and I'm sitting here with a pain in my side. Emotions, power, doubt, what to do. Okay, so that's emotions column. It may have caused doubt, but if anything, I think it could help you relieve some doubt, because you went back to work and there wasn't pain. And then the family came back and then there was. The body doesn't lie. So, Terry, trust what your body's saying. Your body's saying, look, this is really not about work. You know, whether you believe it or not, this is about the family in some way. Let's see if we can get you to the specifics of that. But we've located, I would say, the column we need to look in. So I don't think you need to look at power or doubt so much here, unless it's causing doubt. But the source of this is emotions. It was an onset of a symptom. It was very clearly tied to the family coming back. Find out what you feel about that. Look at that. Consider what are the high stakes aspects of that, and see what you can do with that. Okay, I see Edgar's on Instagram too. Good to see you there. Okay, Jasper has a question. Then I will jump back and get to Scotty G's question, and then a follow-up from Linda. Okay, Jasper says, maybe my improvements were in the power column. I haven't had much time, but I've been reading my 3 core narrative sentences that we worked on. I'm still at a plateau, but it's moving. Okay. So, yeah, Jasper, one thing I would say is you want to stay patient in power column work. Power column work is, I don't want to call it glacial because that makes it sound so slow, but power column work is the more slow and deliberate column. You know, doubts we can erase immediately if we use good science and logic, and emotions can come and go at the drop of a hat and causing pain and having it go away. Power column is a bigger picture experience with the self. And so what I would focus on, Jasper, is just feeling really good that it's moving. If it's moving, you're moving in the right direction. There was a quote that I read recently. It's by E.L. Doctorow, the author of Ragtime and a bunch of other great books. And he said that writing, this was about writing, but I think it's true about getting better from symptoms too. He said, writing is like driving in the fog. You can only see so far with your headlights, but you can get the whole way there by doing that. You can take a hugely long trip. He said it more eloquently than I just did, but you can take a hugely long trip and think, I'm never going to get there. And I just have to get there little by little by little. That's power column work for you. So keep that up. Debbie Rosso says, thanks very much. I hope that helped, Debbie, but let's talk. I want to get you convinced that I'm right about that, but I promise you I am. Okay, Sylvia, good to see you on Instagram. All right, we're getting to Scotty G's question on YouTube. He says, can you explain the core narrative? Is it supposed to be positive affirmations about the person? Does it relate to the doubt column? And why only 3 sentences? Why not a paragraph? Okay, so Scotty, I actually saw, I think I owe you a response to a comment on one of the videos, because I think you asked this question there as well, but we'll get to it here. And I will get to there as well. Let's leave this one up too. There's a lot in this one. So the core narrative is, I wouldn't call it a positive affirmation about the person, because I think the thing about when we use the term affirmation, what people often mean is I'm going to say nice things. One of the differences between the core narrative and affirmations is the core narrative is something you actually believe. Whereas affirmations tend to be things we say, try to fake it till we make it to believe it. And the core narrative really is supposed to be really true to you. The other thing about the core narrative is it's supposed to capture the essence of the hardships of your life and how you've done pretty well with them and what you're going to do about it. So the core narrative essentially is it takes your suffering and crams it in to 3 sentences. I'm going to get to why only 3, but in a second. But the idea is it's supposed to get you to your essence. Now, that actually does speak to why only 3 sentences and why not a paragraph. First of all, I don't have hard and fast rules that you have to be stuck with. If it helps you to have a paragraph, make it a paragraph. That's totally fine. The guideline I give, though, is the 3 sentences because I want it to be something that you can hold on to very easily. It's supposed to be an emotional mantra that you can really keep with you, so you kind of have a sense of who you are and what it is that you're going to need to get better. So the other reason that I like the 3 sentences is they each do a different thing. The first one captures the essence of your suffering. The second one captures what did that do to you? What was the impact? And the third one is about how might you live differently to feel better. And so that's why it's 3 sentences. It's set up in a way that's kind of designed to make it easier to construct, easier to remember, better at boiling it down to its essence. You asked also, does it relate to the doubt column? First of all, the columns all relate to each other. We're having one mind-body experience. I like to break it down into its parts to make it more explainable. But it does relate to the doubt column in a specific way. And that is that if your core narrative is not well in place, your doubt is going to be through the roof. What you want to do is get to a place where you feel like you know your essence, you. What makes you you, what makes you suffer, what the symptoms really come from, because ultimately they do come from trauma and suffering and the essence of our suffering. And so if you've got your core narrative in place, it reduces doubt quite a bit. Doubt also can obscure the core narrative altogether, where you're just like, I can't even think about myself because I'm so worried about these symptoms. And, that's kind of the distraction side of what Sarno talks about. So it does relate, Scotty. I probably need to hear a bit more to clarify for you the specifics of what you're looking at there and what you need to know more about. But hopefully that's a good start. Okay, Linda Alarde says, sounds with pain is so convincing as a structural symptom. I know, Linda, it really is. That helps about the sounds. Thank you. Good. I'm glad that helps. It really is an important thing, and I think it's one of the things that I love about this community is as we talk about these things, we get to compare notes in a helpful way, not in that kind of Facebook sort of way where we go on and we're like, oh, that person looks happy and I'm not. That's not what this is about. And it's also not about wallowing in things and then misery loves company. It's more about getting the right information. And the fact that sounds make people doubt things and everybody knowing that that is true can help every single one of you that's having that. Mira's saying she has sounds all day. Yes. Listen, sounds are extremely common, especially when you've got things on the move. This is one of those things that I do tend to regard as a potential positive event in the doubt column. Once you got doubt on the move, it's going to start trying to get you to doubt in a certain way. If you start to hear sounds, that's what it's doing. Okay, so Linda and Mira are empathizing with each other about this, because as Linda says, it's so hard when every step triggers alarms. It's really true. I mean, think about it for people who have attentional TMS. They can't get their mind off the symptoms, and then the sounds keep coming over and over and over. So I get it, but if you keep pushing against it and you keep recognizing it for what it is doubt trying to creep back in. It's trying to use another one of its tactics, and sounds are a major tactic. Keep that in mind. Edgar, it looks like you're getting a shout out from Linda about, she says your sessions were so courageous and she learned a lot. I completely agree. And, Edgar is he's a great guy. These sessions that I have with people, I have so much warmth toward the community in general, but in those experiences, it is like we're going through something together, me and them. And, Edgar, I was honored you did those. Linda says, what to do when the fear of the pain kicks in? When I'm still in bed and a thought about walking that building, the school comes up, the pain starts in my leg. Okay, well, first of all, there's some good news in here. If you're having pain just from imagining it, That's a mind-body experience, 100%. So that might actually help you bring your doubt down. But that's not the essence of what you are actually asking. You're asking, what do I do in that moment? I think the thing to do, Linda, there is to go through your columns, because the uptick happened right then. And you want to pinpoint what happened in the emotions column potentially. Is there something that led to that symptom? You want to go through the doubt column. All right, did this kick up some kind of doubt, or did doubt cause this as I'm sitting here? And in a way, it did. The fear led to the symptom. So my leading candidate for you is the doubt column is simply rearing its ugly head. It climbed in with fear, and you can combat it. And you can say, okay, the pain will be here if I get worried, but if I help myself not worry, it'll actually go away. So that thought of the moment-to-moment experience of it all can really help you. Lastly, the thing you can always fall back on is the power column. And this actually fits with something that Terry's bringing up. So I'm going to combine these two. Terry said on Instagram, can you please address attentional TMS and how to deal with it again? I know I've asked this before, need to hear it again. No problem. You guys can ask these questions as many times as you want. I see Jasper and Terry are saying hi. They were in the same seminar. Oh, and Professor Pixel is on Instagram. Good to see you. So I'm going to combine this question that Linda's asking with attentional TMS, because I was going to talk about it anyway. One of the things that's happening for you there, Linda, is the pain the fear leads to a symptom, but then you can't stop thinking about it. It sounds very attentional. I think we've talked about that before. And the thing you want to do with attentional TMS is to always use the power column. The power column is the solution to attentional TMS, and here is why. Essentially, you want to stop thinking about it. I mean, that's at base what we need to do. But you can't easily just do that. You can't just will yourself to do that, and I understand that. But when you're in the power column, it kind of naturally happens. It's kind of like time flies when you're having fun. If you are focused on your power column and what you want to have happen, where you are in your life, and how you want to deal with the trauma experience you've had, whatever it is, if you feel you're in the power column, you're moving into the future. And you're not so stuck on what is happening now, or where am I going to get stuck, or how can I not move past this? So you want to connect to your power column. You want to think about the core narrative. Think about who you are in a kind of more zoomed out sort of way, Linda. And that's the kind of thing that can get you to get past that pain. So just to sum up, two things. One, you want to recognize that you are a moment-to-moment being, and that means you're having pain because of fear in that moment. That has nothing to do with having pain in any other moment. So just work on moment-to-moment experience and focus on the power column. Okay, and Scotty is having a follow-up to that question. He says, thank you for the answer. I feel like I have a little more clarity now. I want to get you a lot more clarity on that, Scotty. Number of things we can do. I do highly recommend coming to the seminars. People get full clarity on, or usually close to full clarity on all of these things, because the seminars get into such detail. So that's something we can think about, Scotty. You let me know. You can email me at dan@crushingdoubt.org. There's absolutely no pressure to do this, but these are ways that you can get more information. Okay, we've got a question from Ryan Novak. Hi there. How do you think the mind chooses a symptom? TMS from oxygen deprivation is totally benign per Sarno, but when/why would it choose something more dangerous like an immune system issue? Okay, another fantastic question. We've got tons of great questions rolling in. Leave this one up there, please. I need to think some more about this. So, first of all, how does the mind choose a symptom? Well, there's a number of different ways it chooses symptoms, and my number one answer is you got to think about the columns. It chooses them based on the columns. So if a plausible physical event happens, and that's a trigger, and it's looking for a doubt kind of experience, it could choose that from the environment, from something that happened. That's one way it can choose something. If you're more worried about a part of your body or an experience, then it could choose that symptom. So that's a kind of doubt-based thing. But there are other times where it's expressing the feeling. You know, if you're having, let's say you feel kind of, not great in your stomach, it could be that something is actually disgusting you in a certain way. Or with spasms, it's fear is choosing that symptom. So there's many different ways that symptoms are chosen. However, there's an added thing that you're asking here, Ryan, and another great part of the question, which is why would it choose something more dangerous, like an immune system issue, or not? To me, there's a very clear delineation about that. And this is a controversial area, and people can push back as much as they want. We can have an open discussion about it. I want to explore this. I want to keep thinking about it and make sure that I have the right ideas about things. But in my experience, more dangerous experiences like autoimmune issues, first of all, they can come up for reasons that are not mind-body. I want to put that out there. That's why we go to doctors all the time, get a yearly checkup, always get checked out to make sure that they don't, think something major is going on that way, because it also needs to be treated medically when it gets to that point. But I would say that when there's a mind-body component to an immune system issue or an autoimmune response, what it usually speaks to is that there is a very, very large unconscious experience going on. So this is something that I often take comfort in. The fact that if we are thinking about our emotions, we're actually protecting ourselves potentially from some aspects of autoimmune issues. So Ryan, I hope that answers your question, but let's do follow-up if needed. Okay, Diehard Patriot, that's Joseph. Good to see you. He says, hi, Dr. Dan. Why do you think some people have more symptom imperative than others? Steve Ozanich had so many when he learned about TMS, and my pain once again has moved. Good news, I know, but I just want this to go away. Okay, totally get that. I think that people have the kind of symptoms that they have and the kind of symptom profiles that they have. It tends to relate on how TMS can find its way in. So when people have more symptom imperative, I think that's a doubt column kind of experience. And it tends to speak to the fact that the people who are having that are kind of reapplying doubt over and over again. So this is not a hard and fast rule, but I would say as a beginning way to think about it in this beginning discussion about this, I want you to think about the fact that if you're having the symptom imperative more than others, that means doubt is at hand. It is kind of continuing to climb in. I'm going to climb in over here, climb in over here, and climb in over here. Because that's the column that operates on different things. When it comes to the emotions column, it's about one emotion, one central emotion of that moment that relates to that specific timing. Boom, that's all it is. With the power column, it's more of a zoomed out version of you in general and how to think about you. But doubt is the one that's always coming back, moment to moment, over and over and over. So, Steve Ozanich, actually, ironically, he ended up being someone who's like considered to be like a little bit of a guru about how to think about these things. And some might even say the same thing about me in terms of my level of confidence in what I'm saying. I can't speak for Steve, but I can certainly speak for myself. I had more doubts than a lot of other people. And that's part of the reason I became so good at combating doubt. And I'm wondering if the same thing is true with Steve. But I think with people with symptom imperative tend to have a lot of doubt. So Joseph, let me know if that makes sense to you. In terms of wanting it to go away, it absolutely will, but you got to be focused on the right part of the problem. And I think for you, that's doubt. Okay, Charlotte says, I think it chooses a symptom. She's responding to Joseph, that you were going to really take notice of. Like for me, I suffered from an eating disorder. As soon as I really tried to let go of the control I got chronic stomach pain. It's like that really got my attention. Actually, that was a response to Ryan. Yes. And then Joseph says, Charlotte, same is happening to me, not with stomach issues, but once I gain power over a symptom, I can live my life without it. Without it, a new one begins. So yeah, this is very common, guys. And I empathize, but if you keep working at this, you can keep hammering away at doubt. and you can get places with it. So don't lose hope. That's exactly what it wants you to do. If you keep working at it, even if you just stay in the same place and don't make any adjustments, you'll eventually win out. I mean, one way of thinking about it, I'm kind of an American history buff, at least when it comes to the American Revolution. And one of the reasons that that the United States, or at the time the colonies, won that war is it was only a matter of time. The British could not survive on foreign land. They didn't have any home base. They were going to lose. And the same thing happens with doubt. So try to think about it that way. You're getting there. I've heard you making lots of progress. Okay, we've got a comment from Lena Malkawi. Is it necessary to get all the anger, rage out for the pain to go away? No, it is not. You don't need to get all of it out. Sometimes, actually, you're going to find that a way to make the pain go away is to have the anger and rage and kind of sit in it and be mad. So there's lots of different ways, Lena. And I think we should talk more. We're going to have to stop shortly here, guys. But Lena, I would say let's come back and answer this question in a little more detail. In fact, I will add it to the preloaded questions for next week, and I'll bump it up towards the top. And we can get to that sorry, I just wanted to make sure to do that. If you need more about it. But I would say this, there's no one thing that needs to happen every single time. This is what I like about the columns. They all have their function. You can look at the process and figure out what's operating when. For some people, they might need to do something to get some anger out or even express it. But that doesn't mean that's what you have to do all the time. Okay, I'm going to run through and see if there's any last questions because we've got a bunch left. If I miss any, I'm going to add them to preloaded questions, and hopefully we'll get to them next time. Matt Anderson is here. Good to see you, Matt. Hi, Dan. What do you think of sudden skin changes and sensations being mind-body? Very, very common. I think rashes and itches is one thing, but I strongly believe something like jaundice should always be taken seriously. Well, it's the same delineation I always make. If it could be a serious medical condition, get it treated by a medical doctor. Absolutely. I don't tend to think of jaundice as something where I'd be like, oh yeah, that's just mind-body. No, but rashes and itches and things that kind of come and go and sudden skin changes, like you said, Matt, I think you've got the right delineation. Okay, Joseph said, and I agree with you, Matt, be checked immediately by a doctor for jaundice. Anything that could be serious. Michelle and Angel, I see you on Instagram. Just wanted to say hi. Okay, Joseph is saying we're going to go for another minute or two here. We're running over, but there's a lot of great stuff that I want to get to. Joseph says, I'm totally aware it's TMS, and I address my emotional thing. I'm believing this will eventually end its course, and yes, I believe my body is trying to pick something that it thinks I will pay attention to. Thank you, Dr. Dan, for your answer. It does make sense. Good. I do agree with you. It is a doubt issue, but for me, I believe it's subconscious doubt. My nervous system doesn't believe I'm okay yet. I totally know I have TMS and I'm okay and healthy. Okay. Good. I'm glad you like that analogy. I think it's definitely a good one, especially for American history buffs. Okay, guys, Ryan's saying answer makes sense. The depth of my repression might be the key. Fortunately, most people here are aware of their feelings. Absolutely, Ryan. But I do want to give you some sense of confidence that even just the fact that you're aware of this potential connection can be a very preventative and protective factor. Okay, guys, fantastic questions as always. It was great to see you all. Good to be back with you. I will be here same time next week at 6 p.m. Eastern and 3 p.m. Pacific. And if you do have questions that I didn't get to, I will add them to the preloaded questions. You can email me, dan@crushingdoubt.org. Please do also go visit our website if you are considering the seminars or if you want to look at the mind-body guides, the PDFs. There's lots of different ways that I can get you help. And please do let me know how I can be of help. All right, thanks, guys. I will see you same time next week.